We've got 3 dudes in an office. 2 of them are like, yo, let's grab a beer. And they ask the third guy to come along. But he's all, nah, can't. Gotta work late. So he's stuck there, pulling an all-nighter, totally grumbling about endless work and being super lonely. Finally, he heads out, but he's so out it, he doesn't even notice the light's red. He steps out, and bam, a car totally mows him down. Next thing you know, we see a guy holding a kid, and both of them are glowing this weird blue light. Then boom, we switch scenes to this kid, Shin, in a forest. He's hiding behind a bush, all stealthy, trying to hunt. Suddenly, this green light glows on his hands, and he shoots it out. Bam, bam, 2 animals drop dead. Shin is, like, totally pumped, jumping for joy at his sweet haul of 2 chickens and a boar. This young dude introduces himself as Shin Wolford. He's 8 years old, by the way. He uses magic to make his hunted animals disappear. Shin lives out in the forest with his grandpa, Merlin Wolford. Shin's like, he remembers his past life, back on a planet called Earth, in Japan, but he can't, for the life of him, remember how he died. He heads back home, and Merlin, his grandpa, is there to greet him. Turns out, Merlin saved Shin when he was just a baby from a carriage that got wrecked by a demon. Shin makes the animals reappear with magic, and Merlin, his grandpa, is totally amazed at his magic skills. Shin explains that, unlike his old world, he now lives in a world where magic is real, and Merlin taught him everything. Merlin asks Shin about his magic, and tells him to light up a nearby pile of wood. Shin closes his eyes, visualizes a fireball, and bam, shoots it out with his hands. The wood just explodes into flames, and Merlin is super impressed. Shin loves that he doesn't have to chant any weird spells to do magic, cause he finds that super embarrassing. Just then, 2 people walk up to the house, and Shin totally screams in excitement cause it's Granny Melida and Mr. Michael. Merlin tells Shin he needs to learn more than just magic. He also needs to learn about magical gear and how to wield a sword. Granny Melida starts yelling at Shin, all mad, asking him why he went boar hunting, cause it's way too dangerous. So, Melida Bowen, that's Granny Melida, is Merlin's friend, and she visits them all the time. Shin's like, nah, the hunt's not dangerous for me. I've got all this cool magic gear we made together. But Granny Melida is still worried, saying an 8-year-old shouldn't be out hunting boars. Merlin tries to calm her down, saying Shin's really good with magic and knows the forest like the back of his hand. The guy who came with Granny Melida, Michelle Calling, says Shin's combat training needs to get way tougher, and Shin just shouts, no way! Fast forward 2 years. Shin's now 10 years old, and Merlin's taking him demon hunting. Merlin explains that magic is everywhere in their world, seeping into everything. All living things can use the magic around them, but they gotta control it. If they mess up, they go berserk and turn into a demon. Merlin, his grandpa, once fought a guy who turned into a demon and almost wiped out a whole country. He says Merlin is still a total hero there. So, Shin and Merlin start their demon hunt. Merlin teaches Shin how to find a demon. He tells him to spread his magic out through the forest, and when it touches another magic, he'll feel it. Merlin calls it search magic. Merlin says it's super hard to do unless Shin can control his magic. Immediately, Shin closes his eyes and starts doing search magic before Merlin even finishes his sentence. Purple beams of light shoot out from Shin and spread through the forest, and Shin is blown away because he can feel the whole forest and all the living things connected to the magic, even Granny Melida. Merlin is totally shocked that Shin pulled off search magic on his very first try. Suddenly, Shin feels this dark, sinister energy lurking in the forest, and Merlin tells him it's a demon's power. Shin and Merlin bolt to that part of the forest, and see this massive wolf-like creature with red eyes and dark energy all around it. Merlin tries to warn Shin, but before he can even finish talking, Shin whips out his magic sword, and his enchanted boot gear pushes him forward. He charges at the demon, slashes it easily, and totally defeats it. Merlin just stands there, jaw dropped, looking completely confused. Merlin then praises Shin, telling him he defeated the demon perfectly. Shin is absolutely thrilled that their demon hunt was a total success. Merlin asks Shin about the magic in his boot and sword, and Shin, super awkwardly, tries to avoid answering him. Later that night, during dinner, Merlin is totally bragging to Granny Melida and Michelle about how Shin took down a demonized red grizzly all by himself. Granny Melida is amazed by his incredible magic and sword skills. She also applauds Shin's enchantment skills, saying he knows them in the original language. Granny Melida speculates that Shin might actually be from another world. Merlin proudly tells her it doesn't matter where the boy came from. He's just happy that Shin looks up to him as his grandpa. Merlin says he now thinks of Shin as his grandson. Granny Melida smiles and agrees that she thinks of Shin as her grandson too. The next day, Shin is wiped out, falling to the ground after practice with Michelle. His trainer has been pushing him super hard since the hunt. Merlin joins them and tells Shin they need to talk. Later, they're both sitting under a tree, and Merlin, looking sad, tells Shin that he's not his real grandson. He apologizes for not telling him sooner. Shin doesn't seem surprised at all. He tells Merlin he already knows the truth. The story flashes back in time to show how Merlin found Shin. Merlin stumbled upon a field where a bunch of people had been massacred by a demon. As he's about to help bury them, he hears a baby crying. He rushes over and picks up the baby. He casts a spell, and the baby stops crying. Now, back to the present. Shin interrupts and asks Merlin if the red grizzly they killed earlier was the one that attacked his parents. Merlin is totally surprised, and Shin tells him he was just hoping it was the same demon. He hopes that by killing it, he's avenged his parents' death. He asks Merlin where his parents were originally from, and Merlin tells him they were so messed up beyond recognition that he couldn't find out anything about them. Merlin praises Shin for for handling everything so calmly. Shin says it's because he doesn't remember his parents, and then he happily tells Merlin that he already has his grandpa. Merlin blushes, all fond. Shin says he also has Granny Melida and Mr. Michael, so he's never really felt lonely. He's super glad and thanks Merlin for taking him in. Merlin gets so touched that he starts crying buckets, while Shin, totally embarrassed, tries to get him to stop. 5 years later, in Shin's house, a bunch of people are sitting around a table with Merlin, Granny Melida, Mr. Michelle, and Shin, who's now 15. This young dude, Disium, Uncle Dis, raises his glass and praises Merlin. They're all gathered to celebrate Shin's 15th year. He proposes a toast, and everyone clinks their glasses. Granny Melida and Merlin reminisce about how much Shin has grown. Disium asks Shin what his plans are now that he's an adult. Shin is totally clueless, cause he's never left the forest or made any plans. He tells Disium he's thinking about going into town. Disium asks him, what else? And Shin just looks confused. Two guests at the table, a young guy named Siegfried Marquez and a young girl named Christina Hayden, also ask Shin what he wants to do. Christina cuts in and tells Shin he should join the Royal Order since he learned to fight from Sir Michel, or he could become a demon hunter. Another guest, Tom Hogg, who's a merchant, tells him about the Demon Hunters Society. Tom says demon hunters get paid big bucks when they take down a demon. Shin is totally surprised that demon hunting is an actual job. Siegfried tells Shin that he could also become a magic gear dealer by doing enchantments. Siegfried makes a crude comment about girls and winks at Shin. Christina shoots back at him, annoyed, and they both glare at each other, sparks practically flying. Shin's mind was totally blown when he realized he had to earn money and figure out adulting with it. Merchant Tom nearly yelled his head off, shocked that Shin had never been shopping before. Shin was like, nope, never have, and everyone at the table was just as stunned. Then Granny Melida went full-on scream mode at Merlin, who in true Merlin fashion, sheepishly admitted he totally forgot to teach Shin basic life stuff. Everyone was aghast. That's when Shin was like, hold up, have I only learned magic? Merlin, ever the optimist, just brushed it off, saying, don't sweat it, I'm sure it'll all work out. Next thing you know, we're in the wilderness. Turns out, it's a magic training ground. A magic door just pops open and Shin strolls in with his grandpa and all their guests. Merlin explains that this whole magic door thing is part of Shin's own original spells. Merchant Tom and Granny Melida are absolutely flabbergasted and start showering Shin with praise. Merlin then tells everyone they're here to see Shin show off his skills because, well, it's way too dangerous to do anywhere else. He tells Shin to let loose and show them what he's got. Shin closes his eyes, pictures a raging fire, and bam, a blue flame appears. Everyone's jaws drop because, duh, they've never seen a blue flame before. Shin keeps focusing, making the flame even bigger, and then he just shoots it at a mountain. A massive explosion shakes everything, the force literally pushing and shocking the guests. Shin, though, stands his ground, keeping the flame steady in the same direction. Once the dust settles, there's a giant hole where the mountain used to be. Shin turns around and everyone's just standing there, mouths wide open, pure shock etched on their faces. Granny Melida, in a fit of rage, lunges and grabs Merlin, demanding to know why he didn't teach Shin to be. You know, careful. Merlin tries to defend himself, saying Shin's a super fast learner, and he just wanted to see what the kid could do. But Granny Melida is having none of his excuses, still seething with anger. Shin tries to calm her down, but she just turns her anger on him. A little later, they're all back at the house, chilling at the table. Merlin's totally stressed about sending Shin out into the world after that whole demonstration, especially with how powerful his magic is. They all start talking about Shin's insane powers, and agree it's just too risky to let him loose in society. Disium suggests sending Shin to the Magic Academy, but Merlin's kinda suspicious, thinking Disium just wants to use Shin. Disium, though, swears he won't exploit Shin for his country's military. He reassures Merlin that Shin is like his nephew, and he'd never want him involved in any country squabbles. Shin, looking confused, asks what a Magic Academy even is. Disium explains it's a school for super talented magic users and it's in the royal capital. He tells Shin that going there will help him figure out what he's missing. Plus, it's a great place to meet people his age and make some friends. Merlin asks Shin what he thinks, and Shin agrees to go to the Magic Academy, and Disium offers to help with the arrangements. But he warns Shin that he'll have to take an entrance exam since the school isn't under his control and it's all about merit, so he can't pull any strings. That's when Shin catches Disium saying, "My nation," and asks who he actually is. Disium stands up, totally proud, and declares, "My name is Disium von Earlseed, King of Earlseed." Shin screams in shock. Just then, Christina chimes in, saying she's with the royal guard and escorting the king. Siegfried then adds that he's a magician with the court magic division, also there to escort the king. Shin jumps up, screaming in disbelief. He can't believe what he's hearing. He cracks a joke at Siegfried, who totally fumes, while Christina finds it hilarious before they start bickering again. Just then, Michael reveals that he was once a knight commander, but now he's retired. Shin just keeps getting hit with all these wild revelations. Granny Melida shoots Merlin an annoyed look, figuring he hasn't told Shin anything. Shin asks Disium why a king is visiting his grandfather. Disium explains that the demon Merlin fought was in Earlsheed. It was the first demonoid ever to show up in the kingdom. 2 squads sent to fight it had already been wiped out. Disium continues, and the story flashes back to when the demon first appeared, showing a city in flames and a young Disium. In that crisis, the nation drafted students into subjugation squads. Disium was the crown prince back then, and he totally ignored warnings, deciding to join the squad. Just as the demon was about to finish him off, a young Merlin and Melida appeared, fought the demon, and saved young Deuxium. Now, back to the present, Deuxium finishes his story, gushing about how much he looked up to Master Merlin and Granny Melida, who both listened proudly. Deuxium tells Shin that after Merlin and Melida fought the demon, they were hailed as heroes, and he's been friends with them ever since, still calling on them sometimes. He asks Shin, now that he knows he's king, why he wouldn't treat him any differently. Shin tells him he's known him for ages as just his uncle. Deuxium is thrilled, and tells Shin he's the only one he can talk to comfortably, and asks him never to change. Shin agrees, but he's still reeling from the story of his grandparents being a team. Just then, Christina drops another bombshell. They were more than that. They were once married. Shin is utterly shocked. He just can't believe it. Half a month later, Shin is moving to the capital with his grandfather and Granny Melida. Shin asks Merlin how big the house in the capital is, and Merlin says it was a gift from the country, so it might be pretty big. Shin apologizes to Granny Melida for pushing her to go to the capital with them, even though he's super happy she agreed. Granny Melida tells him she's fine with it because she doesn't trust leaving everything to Merlin. Next thing you know, their carriage is stopped at the capital's gate, and a guard asks for their IDs. Merlin and Granny Melida both show theirs, and the guard screams in shock, realizing they're Master Merlin, the wise man, and Mistress Melida, the guru. Just then, a huge crowd hears the guard and charges towards the carriage, super excited to meet the national heroes. Merlin urges the guard to hurry up, and the guard apologizes, asking who the young boy in the carriage is. Merlin introduces him as Shin Wolford, their grandson, and the guard shouts in excitement. They soon arrive at a mansion in the capital, and Shin is just amazed at how huge it is. The door opens to reveal a line of people in uniforms who welcome Shin and his grandparents with so much respect, even calling him Master Shin, which totally surprises him. The first man introduces himself as Steve, the head butler, and the lady introduces herself as Marika, the head maid. The second man introduces himself as Caller, the head chef. Shin is really surprised by all this VIP treatment, even though Merlin and Granny Melida don't seem to like all the fuss. Merlin tells Shin to go out and check out the town while they take care of things in the house. Shin is walking around town and buys an apple. He's super excited because it's his first time ever buying anything. After touring the capital for a while, Shin arrives at a corner, tired, and that's when he hears a girl's voice. He looks around and sees three guys cornering a girl, and she looks angry and is trying to get away from them while they just laugh and keep teasing her in a super annoying way. Shin walks up to them and asks the girl if they're bothering her, and she shouts back angrily that yes, they are. The three guys then turn to face Shin and start making fun of him, calling themselves champions of justice. Shin calls them out, saying they're villains for preying on girls. The men, all at once, scream in anger, and two of them lunge to attack Shin. He easily dodges their punches and takes them out with a fatal blow. The girl rushes to Shin and asks if he's okay, and he tells her he's fine. Just then, another girl shows up and thanks Shin for his help. Shin is totally spellbound by her beauty as he looks up from her bosom to her face. He screams, which surprises the girl, and she asks if he's okay. Shin is still starstruck and just screams, telling her she's beyond cute. After that, everyone's chilling at a cafe. The girl who was all surrounded by those dudes earlier is super thankful to Shin for saving their butts. She introduces herself as Maria von Messina, and the other girl says her name is Cecilian von Claude. Shin introduces himself too. Maria grumbles under her breath, saying if they could just use magic, they would have totally kicked those guys' butts way easier. Shin asks if they're also hitting up the Magic Academy, and Maria's like, yeah, once we pass the entrance exams. Shin drops the bomb that he's taking the exams too. Maria's all surprised, and Cecilian mentions they thought he was totally a knight in training dude. Shin tells them they'll all be at the same school if they pass, giving them a high five for encouragement. Maria grabs his hands, playfully telling him she's aiming for the top score, so he better watch out. Shin totally laughs, and she keeps teasing him. Shin then offers his hand to Cecilian, but she gets all shy, and Shin's thinking, uh-oh, did I come on too strong? Cecilian just stammers, completely speechless. Maria jumps in, teasing her with a sneaky smile. Immediately, Cecilian practically jumps up, grabs Shin's hand with her eyes squeezed shut, and shakes him back. Maria keeps bombarding Shin with questions. He spills that he just rolled into the capital. She excitedly asks if he knows the wise man and guru also just got back to the capital. Shin awkwardly mumbles he heard something similar, which makes Maria think he's just not into them. Maria totally gushes about Merlin and Melida, how they clobbered the demon, calling them national heroes. She just keeps singing their praises, making Shin super embarrassed, since she has no idea who he actually is. Cecilian notices Shin super quiet and asks if he's okay. Shin figures Maria must be a massive fan of Merlin and Melida, and Maria totally agrees. She tells him all about their grandson, who's also taking the entrance exam. She's all hyped about him, and happy he'll be at the same school, totally clueless that Shin is their grandson. Shin tells them he's gotta bounce after paying for their drinks. Maria and Cecilian try to pay for theirs, but Shin's like, don't even worry about it, as he walks off. Maria and Cecilian keep chattering about Shin. Maria thinks he's super cool, strong, but also humble. Cecilian just mindlessly agrees with everything, her mind totally drifting to Shin. Maria playfully asks if she can snatch Shin for herself, which snaps Cecilian back to reality as she screams, no! Maria laughs at her and keeps teasing her, cause it totally seems like Cecilian's fallen for Shin. Cecilian tells her how she feels about Shin, how he makes her heart pound, and Maria just looks at her, bewildered. bewildered. So, it's entrance exam day. Shin's totally shocked to see so many students are taking the exams too. Shin can't wait to pass, hoping to see Sicilian again. He's talking to himself, staring at the board, when suddenly, an angry voice from behind tells him to move. Shin ignores it, and then some dude behind him puts his hands on Shin's shoulder, trying to grab him. Shin quickly snags his hand, flips him, and pins his hands behind his back. The young guy totally winces in pain. He tells Shin to let him go, and Shin does, saying he started it first. The young guy stands up all mad, introducing himself as Kurt von Rietzberg, but Shin just doesn't seem to care who he is and introduces himself too. The bystanders totally laugh at their exchange, while Kurt angrily shouts that he's the heir of Rietzberg, but Shin still doesn't care. Kurt tries to scare Shin with his name, but then a voice interrupts him, saying he'll get big trouble for throwing his weight around the Magic Academy cause that's a no-go. The young guy tells Kurt it's a royal decree and the law of the land. Kurt bows his head, realizing who the young guy is. Shin has no idea. The young guy keeps chewing out Kurt, demanding to know if he dares defy the royal decree. Kurt, totally freaked out now, quickly bows his head in fear. He warns Kurt not to mess with others and dismisses him. Kurt bows and stomps off angrily. The young guy then turns to Shin and praises him for how he handled Kurt. He introduces himself as August von Erlshide, or Aug for short. Shin shouts, realizing August is Uncle Dis's son. Everyone, including August, is surprised Shin called him Uncle Dis's son. August laughs super hard, cause no one's ever called him that. Shin happily tells him that since he's Uncle Dis's son, that makes them cousins. August laughs and agrees, calling Shin cousin. August cheers Shin on and keeps laughing as everyone stares at them being all casual with each other. Sicilian and Maria are also seen in the distance, staring at them. Maria wonders why Shin's talking so casually with August, and Sicilian wonders who he even is. Just then, Maria spots Kurt and eyes him angrily for also wanting to join their school. Next up, the students are taking the written part of the entrance exam. Shortly after, they're in the practical exam room, and a female teacher gives them instructions for the practical exam to test their magic. Shin's excited because he's never seen anyone his age do magic. The students all show off their magic power, which was not impressive, while shouting chants and spells proudly. Shin is totally red with embarrassment as they keep proudly shouting and showing off their magic. It's Shin's turn now, and the teacher asks him to keep his power super minimal and under control. And he decides to use his blue flame magic, and everyone's blown away that he summons magic without chanting. Shin sends a tiny blue flame flying toward the target, and it causes a huge explosion that sends everyone flying and covered in dust. The teacher yells at Shin for not using his power minimally, but Shin tells her he was holding back a ton, and that's not his full power. The teachers gather to score the students and decide to make Shin the top scorer because of his super powerful magic. The next day, the results are posted, and students check their scores with excitement. Shin and August are happy because they both pass. Shin goes to pick up his school uniform and textbook from the school. A young lady hands them over and tells Shin that the uniforms are enchanted with defensive magic, and he's not allowed to mess with them. Shin asks if his grandma Melida can re-enchant it, and the lady agrees. Shin decides to re-enchant the uniform himself. The lady tells Shin to come prepared with his speech for the entrance ceremony as the top scorer, and Shin is not happy about it. He asks if August can give the speech instead, but August says it's tradition for the top scorer to give a speech. Maria expresses disappointment because she lost the top scorer spot to Shin, and Sicilian just gushes about Shin's incredible magic. Maria urges Sicilian to go talk to Shin, but she refuses. In a dark corner of the school, Kurt kicks things angrily, eyes all bloodshot, because he didn't make the top class. He blames Shin for stealing his position, and he keeps vowing to make Shin pay. Later, Shin checks out the enchantment on his uniform and decides to overwrite it. He uses a pencil eraser and starts to nullify the magic spells on his uniform. He then overwrites it with a super powerful enchantment. He screams in excitement as it works, and Granny Melida bursts into his room to find out why he was screaming. She's totally shocked when he shows her the uniform. On the day of the entrance ceremony, Granny Melida warns Shin not to tell anyone about his uniform. As soon as the crowd sees Merlin and Granny Melida, they rush toward them, screaming their names in excitement. Shin is waiting to give his speech, but he's super nervous, and August starts teasing him about the speech, making him even more nervous. The new students are ushered in amidst applause, and Shin finds out that Sicilian and Maria are both nobility, although he can't believe that about Maria, which makes her a bit mad. The teacher calls on Shin, the top scorer, to deliver his speech. Immediately, she calls him by his full name, and Maria and Sicilian are shocked as they realize who he is. Shin delivers his speech beautifully, and Kurt just keeps looking at him, seething with anger. The students are now in class, and the teacher, Alfred Marcus, welcomes them. So, Maria totally tells Shin that some dude is just, like, totally bothering Sicilian, and Shin, oh my gosh, he gets so mad and instantly offers to help her out. But wait, what? Right then, Kurt just starts barking orders at Sicilian, calling her his fiancée, even though she's shot him down, like, a million times. He keeps trying to scare her. He even tries to grab her, but Shin, being the absolute legend he is, just slaps his hands away. Sicilian's, like, shaking with fear, and Shin's there, promising to protect her. Then, Kurt goes and threatens to get Sicilian's dad fired, all because his own dad has a higher-up job, which just makes Sicilian even more terrified. But hold up, Prince August totally shows up out of nowhere and just starts, like, yelling at Kurt. He's totally chewing him out for trying trying to use his dad's position to bully people. He even threatens to get Kurt's dad fired from his job in finance. Kurt just starts begging, super scared, before August just dismisses him. Sicilian is, like, super grateful to Prince August for stepping in. August then playfully teases Shin about how he totally stood up for Sicilian, which leaves both Shin and Sicilian all red-faced and embarrassed. Shin warns Sicilian to watch out for Kurt. Then, he invites the whole crew back to his place. And Maria, oh my gosh, she's so excited to meet her idols that she immediately says yes. And just as they're about to leave, Prince August's bodyguards, Julius von Littenheim and Thor von Flegel, show up and offer to come along too. So, they get to Shin's house, and he introduces his classmates to his grandparents. But Maria and the others are just, like, losing their minds, totally freaking out because they're meeting these two legendary people. Shin tells his grandparents all about Sicilian's situation. He then asks if he can get permission to, like, re-enchant Sicilian's uniform. Granny Melida is all, whoa there, hold on a sec, this enchantment is a big deal. Shin's uniform is basically a national treasure now, protective gear and everything. Are you Sicilian really worthy of it? Sicilian starts trembling and says she's not worthy at all, immediately confessing that she tried to take advantage of Shin's kindness. Maria and Sicilian both apologize for trying to use Shin to fix their problems. Granny Melida is super pleased that Sicilian told the truth, even though Shin is just, like, totally confused and doesn't get what's going on. Granny Melida gives Shin the okay to help Sicilian, and he's, like, totally thrilled, saying he doesn't even mind if she uses him. Granny Melida then apologizes for testing Sicilian, and they both hug each other, crying happy tears. Merlin is, like, totally amazed at how Granny Melida figured out everything about Sicilian and just praises her. He also makes Shin realize that his enchantments are, like, super powerful and super important. Everyone is just staring at Shin in pure amazement as he totally rewrites the enchantment on Sicilian's uniform. He warns her that the protection won't work on anything not covered by the uniform, so she still needs to be careful. Diziem warns Shin not to tell anyone about how powerful his enchantments are to avoid trouble with the military. Shin then realizes just how epic his powers are and immediately feels bad about it, which totally delights Granny Melida and Merlin because it's the first time he's ever shown regret. Shin then enchants all his friends' uniforms, except for Maria's, because she refuses. She says she doesn't want to carry such a big secret, that it's too much of a burden. Sicilian is super happy and thanks Shin for helping her, and he offers to walk her home every single day. Shin then shows his friends his magic gate. He enchants one and leads them all to the forest where he grew up. They're all, like, totally blown away by his teleportation magic as he keeps trying to explain how it works, but no one, like, understands a single thing. He tells Sicilian that he'll need to visit her house to be able to use the gate magic to take her home every day. Maria and the others are still super confused by all these new revelations. They realize Shin is, like, still totally clueless when it comes to common sense, but he still doesn't get it. The next day, Shin heads off for school, waving goodbye to his grandparents. He goes to pick up Sicilian, and on their way to school, he uses his search magic as she thanks him. Shin bumps into August at school, and August, being August, teases him playfully, as usual. The students are all chatting in the classroom, but they totally quiet down the moment their teacher, Alfred, walks in. Later, Alfred gives them a tour of the school, and August and his bodyguard, Julius, are discussing which club to join. Julius is just, like, gushing over the body language study group. August lets him go join the club, and Julius thanks him, super excited. Shin can't decide which club to join, so August suggests he just make his own club, and Alfred the teacher totally agrees. A bunch of students, Lynn Hughes, Alice Connor, Yuri Carlton, and Tony Frade, all excitedly tell Shin they want to join his club. Alfred tells Shin how to start a club, and even offers to be his club advisor. Sicilian also wants to join Shin's club. They all start brainstorming ideas for a club. Alice suggests they start a club where Shin tells them about Merlin and Melida, but Alfred tells her that club already exists. Lynn suggests they call their club the Ultimate Magic Study Group and practice magic under Shin. They all think it's a great idea, but Shin finds all their ideas, and the name totally ridiculous. But no one pays attention to him as Alfred dismisses them and sends them back to class. Meanwhile, Diziem is, like, sitting around a table with two other guys, talking about how more and more demons are showing up in the kingdom. Diziem and one of the guys don't agree with Dominic, who's guessing the kingdom is peaceful because the demon spread isn't, like, out of control. But Dominic Gaster thinks someone might be causing the increase, since it's happening in a way that avoids attention. Dominic suggests they investigate right away. Diziem agrees and tells him to use the Demon Hunters Society to investigate. That night at the Riotsburg estate, Kurt's dad is, like, totally yelling at him because the king summoned him over Kurt's abuse of power at school. Kurt just blows his dad off and hits his hand away. He calls himself a special person as his father just stares, totally bewildered. Kurt's eyes turn, like, super sinister as he keeps blaming Shin for all his problems. His dad just, like, angrily hits him to the ground because he can't stand Kurt's nonsense and tells the guards to lock him in his room. The next day at school, August tells his classmates that Kurt's dad called the school and said Kurt is grounded at home. Shin asks them why Kurt acts so bad, and Thor tells him that Kurt wasn't always like this. Thor says he started acting like a jerk the moment he started going to Mr. Strom's lab. Mr. Strom transferred to the academy as a magic teacher, claiming he was exiled from the Empire. August points out that Mr. Strom was sketchy from the beginning, so they avoided him even after he invited them to his lab. Thor suggests that Strom might be blind because he has a patch covering both eyes, but he uses special magic to see things and people, which helps him get around. Shin suspects something fishy is going on with Mr. Strom. So, Mr. Strom goes to the Reitzberg estate to see Kurt. Kurt's mom welcomes him and tells him she's worried about her son because she doesn't know what's wrong with him. She bows her head and starts crying, and doesn't even see Mr. Strom grinning from the corner of his mouth. She begs him to help her son get better, not knowing that he's the one who caused it all. Mr. Strom goes to Kurt's room, sees him just, like, miserably lying there, and totally makes fun of him. He leans down and keeps brainwashing Kurt with his magic. Strom unleashes this super sinister dark power and starts to hypnotize Kurt. Kurt's eyes turn blood red, like he's in a trance. Mr. Strom leaves Kurt's house, feeling all satisfied and smiling, like, super wickedly. Later that day in the school cafeteria, August tells Shin there's no point in him being Sicilian's escort anymore since Kurt's grounded. Sicilian's a little bummed, but Shin still offers to walk her to school every day. Sicilian excitedly agrees with him. August teases them both, playfully, and they both get super embarrassed. He says it's a good thing, though, that Shin walks the girls home because bad people might attack them. Shin tells him that it's not a problem because he can detect anyone with search magic. They don't believe it, so Shin tells them all about demon hunting and search magic. Thor still doesn't believe him, so Shin asks him if he's ever hunted a demon before. Thor says no. Shin explains what demon magic power feels like. Lin asks Shin if he's hunted a demon, and Shin says yes. The students are like totally shocked because they've never hunted demons before. Shin tells them that he hunted and killed a grizzly red demon when he was 10 years old, and they all just scream in shock. Later that day, Shin and his buddies are walking from class, chatting about study groups, when all of a sudden, Shin feels this super dark, evil power hanging around. He spins around, totally shocked, and sees Kurt shooting out fire and bad vibes. Kurt immediately blasts them with a fireball, but Shin, quick as a flash, uses his magic to protect his friends. Shin tells August and Sicilian to channel their magic through their uniforms and help him out. They quickly put out the fire, but Sicilian notices Shin's hand got burned in the fight. He tells her not to sweat it, and just like that, his auto-healing spell kicks in. That's when they realize Kurt is seriously trying to kill them. As Kurt starts to glow with purple flames, Shin and August notice he's totally not in control. Kurt begins morphing into this gnarly creature with dark red eyes, and everyone's jaw drops as he transforms into a demon surrounded by sinister red energy. Shin tells August to bail with the others so he can take on Kurt alone, but August refuses. Shin says they'll just get in his way of stopping the demon. Sicilian refuses to leave Shin by himself, but Maria yanks her away. August leaves with the others to go get help while Shin faces off with the demon formerly known as Kurt. The demon charges at Shin, but Shin quickly lands a blow with his blue flame, and Kurt goes down. Kurt angrily stands up and yells at Shin. Shin is shocked that he can even talk. His grandfather Merlin said demonoids lose all their senses. Kurt tries to kill Shin, but Shin zaps him with lightning. That's when he notices Kurt hasn't fully turned into a demon yet. Shin says he can stop Kurt from totally demonizing by trying to control Kurt's out-of-control magic, but as Kurt starts gathering even more magical power to create an explosion big enough to wipe out the whole school, Shin realizes he has to kill Kurt to stop him before he blows up. He charges at Kurt with his sword and immediately chops off his head. Shin feels super sad because he's never killed anyone before. His friends rush to his side to check on him. They still can't believe he killed an actual demonoid. Shin wonders if there was anything else he could have done to save Kurt. Next up, Mr. Strom is chilling on top of the school building, looking super satisfied with his experiment. Shin wonders if it's easy to become a demon, but Thor tells him only a really high-level magician can turn into one. Shin tells his friends that Kurt's demonization was probably artificially caused, which totally freaks them out. Shin, Maria, Sicilian, August, and his two bodyguards all head back to Shin's place, and they see King Diziem talking to Shin's grandparents. The king's guard salutes Shin and tells him he's getting the first order of merit from the king, and Shin and his friends are stoked, but Merlin and Granny Melida are not thrilled with how things are going and remind Diziem about his promise not to use Shin for political stuff. Diziem tells them that news of both the demon showing up and getting taken down has already reached the kingdom. Diziem assures them the award is because Shin did the same awesome thing as Merlin and Granny Melida by killing the demon. He then promises them he won't let anyone exploit Shin. Merlin agrees, but warns Diziem that he and his family will ditch the kingdom if Diziem breaks his promise. Diziem bows to Merlin, and Merlin says a king shouldn't bow down so easily. Granny Melida seems worried about Shin getting into trouble. The next morning, as Shin is taking Sicilian and Maria to school, people start pointing at him in admiration. Shin worries about everyone finding out as he chats with the two girls. Three other girls watching Shin wonder if one of the girls with him is his fiancé, and Sicilian blushes with pride when she hears them. Shin apologizes to Sicilian for all the attention, but she tells him not to worry, which makes Shin super happy. A bunch of students surround the teacher, Alfred, wanting to join Shin's club, and Alfred makes it hard for them to join by setting a really high bar. He tells them they'll have to take an entrance exam and use other dimensional space magic, which is super tough. Diziem is seen at the round table, talking about the demon's appearance with Dominic and Dennis Willard, the security bureau chief. He tells them the demon was artificially made. Diziem begs both of them to team up and investigate the whole thing. Later that day, in Shin's club study room, two new students, Mark Bean and Olivia Stone, are admitted as new members by Alfred the teacher. Olivia's family owns a bakery, and she invites them over. Mark's family makes weapons. weapons, and Shin wishes Mark could make him one, but Mark isn't good at making weapons yet. Mark compliments Shin's blade, but Shin says the blade isn't special. He uses his magic to make it special when he fights, but he wants to improve it. Mark offers to try and forge a better sword for him. The students are impressed by Shin's magic and wish they could be better. Shin offers to ask Granny Melida to help Yuri with practicing her magic. Yuri is thrilled and grabs Shin's hand, making Sicilian jealous. At Rietsburg Estate, the Security Bureau investigators are doing their thing. They hear that Kurt's teacher visited him before he turned into a demon, so they decide to look into it. The two investigators, Alt Leakerman and Carlos Bale, show up at Strom's room in the middle school. They notice Strom uses sensory magic, so Alt asks what happened to his eye. Strom explains that he was born into a noble family, and during a power struggle, a family member tried to kill him, but his eyes got messed up instead. Strom and Alt talk about Strom's study group and Kurt. Strom makes up excuses and pretends to be heartbroken by everything that happened. Alt believes him and offers him a spot in a specialist group formed to study Kurt's demonized body. Strom agrees to join them. Shin and his friends are having lunch in the school's cafeteria, but Shin is worried about his sword as he talks about it with his friends. Shin says he wants a thin sword, but he's afraid it might not be durable. Alice tells him to just buy a new sword if it breaks, and he says he doesn't have enough allowance. Tony comes up with a great idea for the sword, and Mark likes the idea, so he tells Shin to swing by his workshop later. Maria decides to go with Olivia to the bakery instead. Later, the Security Bureau investigators arrive at the parade grounds. Alt leads Strom underground, and it turns out to be an ambush as armed guards surround Strom. Alt tells him that he messed up earlier by mentioning Kurt's name as the demon because his name was never released to the public. Strom laughs wickedly as he realizes it's a trap. Strom confesses that he has been experimenting on people as he tries to use magic to escape, and the guards try to stop him. Shin and his friends are walking on the road as the girls chat and giggle, when suddenly the walls next to them explode. They rush inside to find Strom standing over Alt's body. Alt tells August that Strom is the bad guy and tells him to run. Strom keeps boasting about turning Kurt into a demon. Immediately, Shin draws his sword and charges at Strom. Strom quickly realizes that Shin is way stronger than he thought. Shin tries to hit him with lightning, but Strom floats into the air, which surprises Shin because he's never done that before. Strom makes fun of him. Shin uses his magic boots to jump towards Strom, slashing him with his sword. He then uses his blue flame to burn Strom, which makes Strom super angry. Strom angrily uses his power to create a huge explosion ball, which knocks Shin down. While that's happening, Strom's eye patch breaks, revealing his red eyes. Shin is shocked that Strom is a demonoid with all his wits perfectly intact. Strom keeps taunting Shin. Shin angrily attacks him, but he dodges the attack. Strom thinks he got the best of Shin, but Shin surprises him with an attack of super hot rays. Strom doesn't see it coming as he keeps talking. The rays burn him as he screams in pain and disappears. Shin's friends are impressed by his magic. He then uses search magic but can't feel the demon anymore. A man walks in and praises Shin for taking down the demon. Dominic follows behind him and introduces himself as Dominic Gaster, Knight Commander of the Order, Michelle's successor. The first man introduces himself as Rupert Olgran, Captain of the Court Magic Division. Rupert asks how Shin did that magic, and Shin says he just used light from the sun to create a blast of heat rays. The two men are shocked and impressed. Shin goes on to explain how he did it, but he realizes, again, no one understands what he's talking about. Shin is still suspicious about how things went down because he doesn't think Strom has been defeated. After Maria totally uses Shin's bathroom, Granny Melida just had to ask her what's up with Shin and Sicilian. Maria spills the tea, saying they totally like each other, but they're too shy to admit it, so no dating yet. She keeps chatting with Granny Melida while they watch Shin and Sicilian talking. Maria's like, Shin might be Sicilian's first love, you know? So, Shin and his crew are walking to Mark's dad's store, Beanworks, but Shin's totally zoned out, still thinking about Strom. He tells August that Strom might actually be alive, and that explosion was just a trick to escape. August gets super worried and tells Shin to grab whatever weapon he needs, no matter the cost, because the royal family will pay for it. Shin's the only one who can actually fight Strom, after all. They finally get to Beanworks, and Mark welcomes them. They spot Olivia there super early, so Sicilian and Maria totally drag her away to spill gossip, giggling all the way. Mark calls out to his dad, the smithy, Harold Bean. Harold screams and tries to scold him, but then August just introduces himself as the prince. Harold and his workers are legit shocked and immediately drop to their knees in respect. August then drops another bombshell, introducing Shin as the wise man Merlin's grandson, which totally shocks Harold and the workers again. August tells him they need a weapon forged for Shin, and Harold totally agrees, saying it'll be a huge honor to make a hero's weapon. Meanwhile, over in the Blusphia Empire's imperial castle, we see this dude, Harold von Blusphia, who's the emperor, plotting to attack the kingdom of Earlsheed. A middle-aged guy named Zest tells him about demons showing up in Earlsheed, and the emperor just laughs, like super evil. He thinks this is his golden opportunity to take over Earlsheed. He just walks away after totally belittling Zest. Back at Beanworks, Shin explains everything about the weapon to Harold. As they're leaving, Shin offers to buy Sicilian some accessories. Sicilian gets all happy, thinking he means it as a romantic gift, so she starts wondering what to pick. Shin, being totally clueless, tells her he meant defensive magic accessories. Sicilian gets super embarrassed embarrassed. The others totally get it and point it out to Shin, and that's when he finally realizes his mistake and tries to apologize to her. Shin and Sicilian head up to the shop, and Shin apologizes again, telling her to pick an accessory so he can enchant it for her. Sicilian tells Shin to choose for her, and he picks this super beautiful ring, which totally makes her happy. Shin puts the ring on Sicilian's finger, making her all emotional. She thanks Shin, and he grabs her hand, like, lovingly. He tells her the ring will keep her safe. Sicilian is totally ecstatic and blushes. On the day of Shin's award ceremony at the Earlshide Royal Castle, Shin is super nervous. A guard tells him it's time, and Shin stands up. The door opens, and a loud voice introduces Shin. As he walks out, a huge crowd starts clapping and cheering like crazy. Shin is totally stunned. He didn't expect the ceremony to be such a big deal. He kneels before the king. Deuxième totally commends and praises Shin for taking down the demon, then places a medal of honor on Shin. Deuxième goes on to explain his whole deal with Merlin and Shin. He tells the crowd about the promise he made with Merlin, which completely shocks Shin. The next day, Shin, Maria, and Sicilian are leaving his house, but as he opens the door, a massive crowd cheers and screams his name. Shin gets all alarmed and slams the door shut. Shin says there's no way they can get through the crowd, so he uses gate magic to get them to school and almost bumps into Yuri's chest. Tony and Lin are totally surprised and think the gate magic is remarkable. Shin explains it to them. Lin calls it teleportation magic, but Shin tells her it's relocation magic, which confuses Lin even more, but Shin offers to teach them anyway. Now, in their study room, Shin tells his friends that they all need to level up their abilities. They all agree and ask Shin about his plan. Shin wants them to master a certain attack and defensive magic, and he also wants to enchant defensive magic accessories for them. Shin wants to start by checking how much magic power they can control. He explains some more to them, but they just can't seem to understand. Shin calls on Maria and tells her to build a protective barrier. Maria does it, but Shin tells her it's way too thin and weak. He tells Sicilian to activate a barrier using the defensive magic ring he gave her earlier. She does, and she builds 2 layers of barrier, which totally impresses everyone. Shin explains to them how it works, and they're all astounded. Shin tells them about Strom using defensive magic to block his attack when they fought. Finally, they realize magic barriers are actually easy to make. Shin decides to show them a bit of the magic power he controls. Shin closes his eyes, and suddenly, a beam of purple light explodes around them. They are mesmerized and super surprised by Shin's power. After the demonstration, they all drop to their knees in awe. Shin tells them they need to control that amount of magic power, and to do that, they'll have to practice magic control every single day. They all answer in unison, like their lives depended on it. Back in the Blusphia Empire, Strom is seen recovering from his injuries. Turns out he was the one who sent Zest to spread the news about Earlsheed. A young woman named Miria tells Strom that the Imperial army in the Blusphia Empire seems to be quietly getting ready for war. Strom is totally pleased with the news as he chats with Miria, and he laughs, like, super evil, pleased that his wicked plans are working out. Shin and his friends head back to his house using gate magic. They find Merlin and Granny Melida together as Alice, Lin, and Yuri scream with excitement. Shin tells his grandfather that there was a huge crowd at the school gate, so they had to use gate magic. Merlin laughs heartily, telling him the fuss will die down soon. The students tell Merlin that they are now learning magic from Shin. They ask Merlin if he taught Shin magic. Merlin says yes, but Shin visualizes magic differently than he was taught. Merlin goes on to explain to them, telling them that Shin doesn't just focus on the outcome of magic, but also the process. Merlin performs gate magic right in front of them, and Shin is surprised, but Merlin tells him it was super hard to learn, and he used Shin's drawings to get the hang of it. Merlin encouraged them and advised them to work hard, and they just might be able to do some of Shin's magic. That night, Granny Melida totally praises Merlin for what he did for Shin earlier. She explains he learned gate magic so Shin wouldn't feel like an outsider in front of his friends. The next morning at school, the students find Lin all covered in bandages. Lin says she tried to control her magic, but it got out of hand. They worry that she might have destroyed everything around her, but she reassures them that her dad is a court magician and they have a practice room at home. Shin is surprised she does this all the time and calls her the unbridled magical girl. Lin screams with excitement because she totally loves the name. Later that day, Shin goes to Beanworks, and Harold shows him the weapon prototype, and Shin is super impressed. Shin takes the sword and pushes a button on the handle, and the blade just detaches from the handle. Tony was so happy to see the invention because it was his idea. Shin goes to join his friends outside and brings them accessories as gifts. He says he'll enchant them with defensive magic later. They all think he bought rings, but Shin assures the boys they won't be getting rings. August then suggests that Shin's sword should also be used for military purposes, but Shin tells him that Granny Melida might not allow it. August tells him not the magic enchanted sword though, just the ordinary sword. Shin thinks it's a good idea, but says since it was Tony's idea, he should get his approval. August tells them that he worries a war with the Blusphia Empire might be inevitable. Thor and the others worry they might get drafted to fight if war breaks out. August tries to cheer them up. He tells Shin they won't drag him into it if war breaks out. Shin firmly tells them that even if they don't draft him for the war, if any of his friends are in danger, he will absolutely go to the battlefield to protect them. They all smile happily, feeling totally reassured by Shin. So, over at Blusphia Empire base camp, Harold the Emperor is, like, totally losing it, smashing stuff in his tent. Get this. Blusphia went to war with Earlshide cause some dude named Zest told them demons were going bonkers in Earlshide. They thought Earlshide would be busy with the demons, so they sent their troops. But surprise! The Earlshide army just showed up and totally clapped them. Now the Emperor's fuming, thinking Zest played him. Then a messenger busts in, shouting that demons are attacking Blusphia capital. So the Emperor's like, okay everyone, pack it up, we're going home to fight these things. Meanwhile, back at the Earlshide base camp, Rupert and Dominic are chilling, talking about the Blusphia Imperial army retreating. Then another messenger rolls up, saying demons are blocking them from even chasing the Imperial army. Rupert's all, looks like the demons are actually helping Blusphia dip out. What even is happening? Back in the capital, these massive, gnarly demon creatures are just going to town, attacking and killing people everywhere. And who do we see just casually strolling around, looking super pleased with himself? Strom, Miria, and Strom. Turns out, he planned this whole thing to take over Blusphia. Oh, and he already turned Miria into some kind of demonoid. Miria's totally stoked, saying she feels way more powerful as a demon. Strom just keeps rambling on about his evil master plan for the Imperial army. Seriously, this guy is next level villainous. A few days later, Harold the Emperor finally gets back to the Imperial castle. He's still super mad about the demons trashing the capital. His guys are trying to reassure him, saying the soldiers are handling it, but he's screaming, telling them to fix it before sundown. As his guards leave, the Emperor turns around and guess who's sitting on his throne? Strom! The Emperor shrieks in terror as Strom locks the door and just blasts him into oblivion with some crazy magic explosion. Yikes! 3 days pass, and Rupert and Dominic are walking through Blusphia's capital, which now looks like a ghost town, totally wrecked. Dominic tells Rupert that tons of demons attacked, and when the Imperial army showed up to fight them, they got wiped out too. Suddenly, they hear a voice in the fog, and surprise, surprise, it's Strom. He's gloating, saying he's behind all the destruction and thanking them for weakening the Imperial army, making it easy for him to attack. Rupert and Dominic are legit shocked when they see that Strom has turned all the remaining people in the city into demonoids. This is getting seriously messed up. Fast forward a few days, and we're at Earlshide Castle. Dominic is retelling their whole insane ordeal to King Dizzyum and his cabinet after they managed to escape. They're all trying to figure out a plan to take down Strom. Good luck with that, guys. Now, back at the academy, Alfred is giving the students the lowdown on the war. He tells them they're gonna have joint training with the night training school to get them ready for whatever comes next. After class, everyone huddles up, buzzing about the news. Shin notices everyone's looking super worried. They tell him the night training school students always tease and make fun of them. Maria's all fired up, saying magicians are way better than knights. Shin tries to calm them down, but they're like, dude, your situation is different because you're good at both magic and swordsmanship. Shin then drops the bomb that he was trained by a knight, and as soon as he says Michelle trained him, everyone's jaws drop. Thor explains that Michelle is called the Sword Saint, and literally no one is better with a sword than Michelle Coling. They all figure the night training school students are probably just jealous of Shin. Later that day, outside the capital gate, the students are split into groups. Shin and his friends are standing off to the side, chatting. Some knights spot Shin from a distance and start yelling insults at him. Shin, Cecilian, August, and Maria end up on a team with 4 knights from the Knight Military Institute. Chryse Lloyd, the top student, Miranda Wallace, second place, Noon Curtis, and Kent McGregor. Shin casually asks if they've ever killed a demon before, and they just get furious, calling him a show-off. Shin's like, chill, I'm just trying to get everyone to work together. But the knights keep picking on him until August steps in. August is super annoyed with them for not wanting to be a team and tells them off. He then tells Shin not to join the demon hunt, saying the knights will handle it themselves without any help from magicians. Everyone just silently agrees, heads bowed. Deep in the forest, the 8 of them are waiting for their advisor. August tells them they've been sent to a high-risk area because of their skills, meaning more demon encounters. Just then, a voice calls out Shin's name, and it's the king's escorts, Siegfried and Christina. Shin begs them to get along, but they immediately start bickering, like always. All the girls totally swarm Siegfried, gushing over him, while the boys rush to Christina. Cecilian tells Shin that the advisors are pretty popular at school. They all head deeper into the forest, looking for a demon. August tells the advisors that the knights will hunt alone, just like they boasted earlier. Siegfried and Christina agree it'll be a good learning experience. August isn't sure Maria understands the point of the exercise since she totally hates knights, but Maria assures him she gets it and explains further. Siegfried playfully teases Maria, making her blush, and Shin feels a little embarrassed for her. Shin then senses a demon, and Siegfried tells the knights to get ready. A boar demon appears, and the knights charge right at it, but it immediately kicks their butts. As the demon charges again, Shin whips out his sword and beheads it in one swift move. Christina scolds the knights for bragging, and tells them that the demon they just fought was the weakest kind. They're totally humiliated as Cecilian goes to help them, which surprises the knights. Noon, Chryse, and Kent are still fawning over Cecilian, making Shin super jealous, while August playfully teases him about it. Maria and Miranda are also bummed that the guys aren't giving them that kind of attention. Siegfried then gets everyone's attention as a whole herd of demons starts heading their way. 2 students then stumble out of the trees, out of breath, yelling that hundreds of demons are coming. Shin asks if he can handle the demons alone, so Siegfried tells everyone else to get behind Shin. As the herd charges, Shin gets ready and starts his visualization, while everyone else is shocked to see a tiger demon, which is seriously strong. strong. Shin then unleashes a blue flame blast, wiping out the entire herd of demons in one shot. Everyone is just staring, mouths agape. The knights, especially, are even more stunned than the others. Miranda walks over to apologize to Shin for how she acted earlier. She also accidentally calls Shin Sicilian's boyfriend, thinking they're dating, which makes both Shin and Sicilian blush and stammer in total confusion. The boys who were fawning over Sicilian earlier suddenly realize something might be going on between Shin and Sicilian. The squad's still deep in the woods for training when, bam, they run into a bear demon. But no sweat, the magicians and knights totally nail it, working together like a dream to take it down. Shin even pulls a hero move, shielding Miranda with a protective barrier during the fight. Once the demons toast, Sicilian's all, "Let me heal you guys up," with her restoration magic. Siegfried and Christina are super proud, seeing how awesome the team's finally gelling. Siegfried's seriously impressed by how much the other magicians have leveled up, and Shin spills the beans about their magic club where he teaches everyone. Siegfried's like, "Can I join?" Shin's totally down, but then August jumps in, saying Siegfried can't because he's military. Apparently, they can't let Shin's crazy power get to the military, or it could cause major international drama. August's worried if other kingdoms find out about Shin's power, it could kick off a massive war. Shin's clueless why teaching magic would be a problem, but August already warned everyone to keep their magic on the down low, telling Shin not to spread his power beyond their study group. Shin agrees, figuring it's for the best. Siegfried then asks August how Merlin does his magic, and August's all, "Just practice magic control every single day." Siegfried's not buying it, so August calls over Sicilian and Maria to show Siegfried their magic control. They totally nail it, making a super thick magic barrier that blows Siegfried's mind. He's never seen anything like it, but then Maria casually drops that it's still thinner than Shin's barrier, leaving Siegfried even more shook. And, as always, Siegfried swoons over Maria in the sweetest way, making her blush like crazy. After all that, Shin's crew gets ready to head back to the capital gateway after their training. Miranda walks up, thanking him for saving her during the bear demon attack. Shin just wonders how his other friends are doing with their training. Next up, we catch Mark, Tony, Julius, and Olivia with their crew, also on their way for training. And, it looks like they're not having much luck with the knights either. Tony, and one of the knights, Julio, seem to have some bad history. Tony tries to explain that Julio's got it all wrong, but Julio's just angry, telling the magicians to stay out of their way as they rush off to fight a demon by themselves. Big mistake, they almost get crushed. Tony and the magicians swoop in, saving them and taking down the demon. But even after that, the knights and magicians still can't stand each other. Then there's Alice, Lynn, Yuri, and Thor on another team, and their training's also a dumpster fire. The knights on their team keep trashing them. When a demon attacks, the knights try to handle it alone, but they totally bomb. The magicians save the day again, but Lynn goes a bit wild, blowing up everything around her as she loses control. Yikes! Back at the capital gateway, Shin asks everyone how their training went, and they all just groan, saying it was awful because of the knights. Olivia asks Shin about his team, but then Maria and August cut in, totally teasing him and Sicilian about their little moment in the forest. Maria says they still had a good time since Shin was super helpful. Shin gets a bit down, wondering if he messed up his friends' lives by teaching them such powerful magic that could get them into trouble. August then tells them that after graduation, they're all going to be under supervision in a special team because of their boosted abilities. Shin apologizes, but they all assure him they're stoked that their future's gonna be secure. August and Sicilian try to cheer him up. They all beg Shin to train them more, and August even offers to be the one to keep them in line. A few days later, Shin takes them out to the wilderness and keeps training them. August gathers the team and gets serious, saying they're not just ordinary people anymore, so he's gonna spill some state secrets. He tells them about the demonoids taking over the empire, wiping out everything in their path. He explains that the demons are multiplying daily as humans are turned into demons, just like Kurt. Shin's left wondering what Strom's planning next. Shin tells the team they need to seriously amp up their magic, suggesting a training camp, which totally gets them hyped. They brainstorm locations for the camp and decide on Sicilian's family's hot spring area. Score. Later that night, Shin tells his grandparents about the camp. They think it's a great idea, but Granny Melida's not keen on boys and girls staying alone without adult supervision, so she and Merlin decide they're coming along too. And the next morning, as school goes on break, Shin and his friends get ready to leave for camp, thanking Granny Melida and Merlin for joining them. On their way, they chat about Granny Melida's younger days when she made enchanted accessories to make everyday life easier. They keep praising her, but Shin can't quite believe it, knowing her differently. They continue to chat, with Shin and Merlin playfully teasing her. Later that evening, Shin senses demon energy, so they stop the carriage by the road to handle the demons. Everyone offers to fight, but Shin says they'll draw straws to decide who gets to take on the demons. Lin wins and faces off against a dozen wolf demons, but she takes them all down in one single blow, leaving everyone totally amazed. By night, they reach the city of Claude, a hot spring town. Sicilian leads them to Claude Manor, where the servants welcome them. The servants greet Shin and wish him a happy life with Sicilian, making Shin and Sicilian super embarrassed. Later that evening, as they're chilling in the men's baths, Merlin thanks the boys for being friends with Shin. August also thanks Shin for treating him like a cousin instead of a prince. They all tell Merlin that Shin's the one who changed their lives. Shin thanks Merlin again for raising him, making Merlin feel all emotional. At the women's baths, the girls are chatting about their bodies, with Maria and Alice wanting to know the secret to getting a great body. Granny Melida teases both of them because they have smaller bosoms compared to the rest of the girls on the team. She tells them to ask Sicilian, Yuri, and Olivia, since they're more, blessed. The girls keep messing around in the hot spring and talking about Shin's inventions with Granny Melida. Granny Melida thanks the girls for being friends with Shin, but they tell her they feel lucky to have him because he protects them and teaches them magic. Granny Melida feels happy and declares that she and Merlin will also be training them, which makes the girls super happy. The next morning, Merlin was totally coaching them on how to ace their magic control, dropping pointers like a boss. Of course, Lin totally wiped out during practice, as usual. Granny Melida was also schooling them on magic gear enchantment, which was super cool. Shin was stoked that the camp was going awesome. He even started teaching them magic, with Merlin and Granny Melida watching over him. Shin's all like, I gotta get stronger to take down Strom, before Shin could unleash a new spell. Messina was quick to tell everyone to throw up a magic barrier to shield themselves. Shin was like, nah, we'll be fine, but nobody believed him, so everyone put up their barriers anyway. Shin then tried his blue flame magic again, but this time it was way more focused and powerful, leaving a massive, deep crater in the ground. Everyone was absolutely stunned, as usual. Granny Melida whacked Shin on the head and totally chewed him out for slinging such crazy, powerful magic. They all started chattering about Shin's boosted magic, and Maria told him he was being super reckless. Again, as usual. As the day wrapped up and they headed back to the manor, August hit Shin up to get him to the castle using gate magic so he could snag some intel on the demonoids. As Shin and August popped into the castle with their gate magic, who do they run into? Ellie, August's fiancé. Shin was totally bug-eyed like, wait, August's engaged. Ellie, being all graceful and stuff, introduced herself to Shin as Elisabeth von Corrali, second daughter of Duke Corrali and Prince August's fiancé. Shin thanked her for the super polite welcome. August was like, why are you here? And Ellie totally bickered with him, all mad that he ditched her and May to go camping. Just then, a younger girl, May, stomped in, totally screaming at August for leaving her behind to go camp with Mistress Melida because she's a fan too. May kept throwing a tantrum, saying she wanted to meet Melida. Then she noticed Shin and apologized, introducing herself as May von Earlsheed, August's little sister. Shin told May to just chill and treat him like her big brother, and they totally hit it off. May and Ellie then dropped the bomb on August. They were joining him at camp. He totally refused, but then they got permission from Deuxium, the king, who told August to just take them along. So Shin and August zapped Ellie and May back to camp through the gate. August told them to stay safe and not mess with practice. Ellie seemed annoyed and complained that August was way too obsessed with Shin and didn't have time for her anymore. Shin reassured her that nothing was going on between them. August sweetly reassured her, saying he was just comfortable around Shin since Shin treated him like a cousin and not a prince, which totally calmed her down. August then casually dropped. Besides, Shin likes Sicilian. He even told Shin to just ask her out instead of wasting time. Shin was like, I wanna, but I'm not sure how Sicilian feels about me. August guaranteed that Sicilian had feelings for him, even though Shin was still doubtful, worrying she might reject him. August told him to just grow a pair and make a move. Back at the manor, they welcomed the new guests, Ellie and May. Ellie mentioned they were talking about Sicilian earlier, and May, being May, called them a cute couple, leaving both Shin and Sicilian super embarrassed. Ellie and May introduced themselves to the household, and Shin told Granny Melida that May was a fan. Granny Melida was totally thrilled to meet a younger kid and greeted May warmly. They started reminiscing about when Shin was little, and everyone kept teasing Shin playfully. In the middle of all this, Sicilian accidentally blurted out that she'd love to have Shin's children, leaving him red-faced as she bolted out, mortified. As Shin finally realized Sicilian truly had feelings for him, and August egged him on, Shin followed her outside to talk. They made some small talk outside before an awkward silence settled in. Shin finally poured out his feelings for Sicilian and told her he was in love with her. Sicilian, in turn, expressed her love for him. Shin asked her to be his girlfriend, and she said yes. They stared at each other, all gooey-eyed, about to lock lips, when their friends, including Merlin and Granny Melida, tumbled out from hiding. Turns out everyone had followed them outside to see what would happen. Shin and Sicilian were so embarrassed. Everyone started cracking up and teasing Shin and Sicilian even more, especially August. The next morning, they were at the beach, still practicing. Shin gave them a ball, one of his cool inventions, and they formed teams, playing with magic. Merlin, Granny Melida, Ellie, and May watched from a distance. They were hitting and passing the ball using only magic, and Shin totally didn't expect them to get so hyped up. As they were playing, Lin lost control of her magic, and the ball, now blazing with fire, flew straight towards Ellie and May. Merlin, quick as a flash, dashed in and saved them. Granny Melida was absolutely furious, and Lin and Alice were profusely apologizing. Merlin lectured them hard on magic control before sending them back to keep practicing. Back at the manor, the students, including May and Ellie, gathered in the same room and started chatting about their past, like how they met when they were 5 at a coming-out party for noble kids. Shin told them he was hunting in the forest when he was 5. August and Ellie then started spilling the beans on how they met. The story went back in time to when they were both 5 years old, and a 5-year-old Ellie totally walked away from Prince August because she wasn't interested in being the prince's girlfriend. Back in the present, August kept telling them how he fell in love with Ellie. Maria, Alice, and Lin grumbled that they had never been in love and asked Yuri if she had dated boys before, but she just dodged their question with a sly smile. They all laughed together, but then they heard Granny Melida approaching, so they went dead quiet and hid. Granny Melida opened the door and furiously yelled that everyone needed to go to bed, but she was surprised because she didn't see anyone. Shin and Sicilian were hiding together on the bed with the sheets covering them. Suddenly, Sicilian started moaning uncomfortably. Shin thought it was because he might be too heavy and slightly on top of her, but Sicilian gestured to where his hand was. Shin looked down to see that he had accidentally grabbed her bosom without knowing, so he pulled away in shock, raising the covers. Granny Melida totally misunderstood the situation and reprimanded him. The rest of them started to playfully tease Shin and Sicilian. As Granny Melida shouted at them, Shin totally pulled an all-nighter, tossing and turning, thinking about what went down with Sicilian. Awkward, he bumps into her. They have this intense stare down, then a super cringy greeting. Sicilian's like, hey, come with me, gotta meet my parents. So, they gate magic their way to the Claude estate. Sicilian apologizes for the super fast intro to her folks, but Shin's all, nah, it's cool. They head inside, and Shin meets Sicilian's dad, Cecil von Claude, and her mom, Eileen von Claude. Shin's totally sweating it, but he takes a deep breath and tells them he wants their blessing to date Sicilian. Get this, Cecil practically tackles Shin, shaking his hands like crazy, and thanking him for picking Sicilian. Eileen's way calmer. She tells her husband to chill. She explains to Shin that even though Sicilian's their third daughter, she's still a Viscount's kid, which means no dating without an engagement. Eileen asks Shin what he thinks about marriage, and Shin, without missing a beat, firmly says he's ready to marry Sicilian. Eileen then congratulates Sicilian, saying her dreams are coming true. How sweet. Later that day, the squad's out in the wilderness, practicing their magic and blowing up mountains. Ellie's totally freaking out, and Shin just laughs, telling her they're just warming up. Merlin asks Ellie and May if they want to join, but Ellie's a hard pass. May, though, she's all in, super excited to try. Merlin starts teaching her some basic magic control, and she's a natural, totally blowing everyone away. And Lynn, seeing May's skills, gets super competitive. She tries to control her magic, but totally messes up and gets caught in her own explosion. Granny Melida just cackles, teasing Lynn and Alice again about their, petite bosoms. They glare at May, who bolts behind Shin. August even playfully teases May about siding with Shin. Meanwhile, back at the imperial capital of Blusvia, we see Strom chilling on his throne. He asks his minion, Miria, how his evil plan is going. She tells him the demons have been attacking caravans, causing major food shortages and a ton of unhappiness in the remaining cities. Strom's super stoked with how things are progressing. Back in the wilderness, Shin's about to unleash some new magic. Everyone else gets all nervous and throws up a magic barrier. Shin tells them he's not gonna do anything dangerous this time. They're like, yeah, right, and pile on even more barriers. Shin keeps reassuring them it's safe, and after a little back and forth, they finally drop their shields. Shin picks up a rock and starts doing some mind-blowing magic control, pouring magic into it until it just floats there, leaving everyone speechless. Shin calls it floating magic and tries to explain it, but as usual, they have no clue what he's talking about. Then he does the floating magic on himself, making them even more shocked. He adds some wind magic and starts flying around. Everyone's just staring, jaws on the floor. Shin's super happy with his experiment and tells them he learned it to fight Strom. Sicilian praises Shin, while May practically begs him to teach her. Maria cuts in, telling May she can't fly in a dress or she'll show off her undies. Later that night, Sicilian joins Shin as he tells his grandparents about their engagement. Granny Melida says they gotta talk to Sicilian's parents before making it public. She asks Sicilian to take them to her parents' place. Granny Melida feels it's super important to tell the Clodes about Shin's birth secret, so they all head to the Clode estate, where the Clodes greet them warmly. Granny, Melida, and Merlin spill the beans about how they found Shin, and that he's not actually related to them by blood. She says it's totally understandable if they want to call off the engagement, but Cecil's like, nope, we approve the engagement because of who Shin is, not his background. He adds that Shin values Sicilian and always tries to keep her safe. Granny Melida apologizes for misjudging them. Sicilian then expresses her love for Shin, and Shin thanks her parents, promising to always take care of her. He also thanks his grandparents for raising him. The next day, the team gets fitted with their awesome enchanted combat uniforms from Shin. They're still chatting as he explains all the cool enchantments on the uniforms. Shin tells them it's time for some serious combat training, and they're gonna take down a catastrophic class demon. They're all like, wait, we're not ready, but Shin assures them they are, and the uniforms will help. Just then, Ellie walks in with May, who's still throwing a fit about wanting to join. Shin goes and grabs one of his inventions, a communication device, which he gives to May to keep her busy, teaching her how to use it. Everyone else thinks the device is super cool, but Granny Melida gives Shin an earful, telling him to stop inventing dangerous stuff that could cause wars between nations. The group heads out for their hunt and stops dead in their tracks as they feel the insane power of a catastrophic class demon, a giant lion-like creature. Shin explains their attack strategy and gives Sicilian a little pat on the head for her help, making her blush. Shin picks Julius, Yuri, Mark, Sicilian, and Olivia to fight the demon. August worries that those five are better at support than attacking, but Shin promises they'll be fine since the plan is to attack from a distance, and the demon's powerful but a bit slow. The five of them attack the demon and completely obliterate it, leaving no trace. They can't even believe they took down such a powerful demon all by themselves. Shin then tells the remaining six, Tony, Thor, Alice, Alice, Lynn, Maria, and August, who are the attack specialists, to each defeat a catastrophic class demon individually. They all find a demon and swiftly take it down in one blow. After the training, they all chat about the fight and give each other props. They especially commend Tony for how he used Shin's vibration sword. Shin's super impressed with the team's abilities. August then teases Shin about his upcoming engagement party with Sicilian. Later that evening, Shin's getting ready for the engagement party when the door opens and Sicilian walks in, looking absolutely angelic. Shin is totally mesmerized. They both compliment each other and gaze lovingly into each other's eyes before Eileen totally interrupts, telling them it's time for the ceremony to begin. Shin and Sicilian walk down the aisle hand in hand as their family and friends cheer like crazy. Deuxième, the king, officiates the ceremony and proposes a toast as everyone raises their glasses to Shin and Sicilian. And the next morning, the team heads back into the wilderness to keep training. They're just zipping around happily while Mei, Ellie, and Shin watch them. Shin totally enchanted their uniforms with floating magic because, honestly, they couldn't do it themselves. They could only use their wind magic to move around once Shin's floating magic was active. As Shin watches them, super proud, Mei suddenly says she wants to fly too. She lifts up her dress, showing off the shorts underneath, and declares she's ready to go. Ellie, though, is absolutely fuming. She tells Mei to put her dress down and stop acting so unladylike. Shin calls them all back down using this new, upgraded communication gadget he invented. Everyone pauses for a second, chatting about August's upcoming investiture ceremony. Meanwhile, back at the Imperial Castle, Strum is chilling with his sidekicks, Miria and Zest. They tell him the last town in the Empire has fallen. So, Strum had Zest and the demonoids cut off all the food for the regular folks, while the rich and noble just kept stuffing their faces. Naturally, the starving commoners got super mad and rose up. Then, Strum, being the villain he is, demonized them and sent them to go slaughter all the rich nobles. Miria looks a bit worried, wondering why he hates the nobles so much. Later, in the Imperial throne room, Strum gathers the demonoids and thanks them for helping him take down the Empire. He tells them his only goal was to overthrow the Empire, and now that he's done it, he doesn't want anything else. The demonoids are super annoyed and tell him he needs to keep going until they conquer the whole world. Strum just says it's too much effort and tells them they're free to leave and do whatever they want. Most of the demonoids storm out, and Strum just tells Zest to let them go. Miria then asks Strum about his beef with the Empire. Strum starts to tell them his whole story. Flashback time. We're going 2 years back to the territory of Stradius. Back then, Strom was known as Olivera von Stradius, a super cheerful young guy who worked on the farms with his people and lived like a normal commoner. His town was thriving because of him, and since he was so kind and treated commoners well, tons of people flocked to his town. Olivera favored commoners because when he was a kid, he grew up where the powerless had nothing and the nobles were just greedy. But one day, while traveling, he stumbled upon the kingdom of Earlsheed, where there was no slavery and everyone, including commoners, had a great life. It made him realize that's how the Empire's future should be. Olivera lived in Stradius Ducal Palace with his pregnant wife, Arya, and they were super happy. But at Richmond Ducal Palace, evil dudes like Harold von Richmond, who later became the Emperor of Blusphia, were plotting with other nobles on how to take Olivera down. They decided to set a trap for him, using policy reforms to lure him to the capital. Olivera got a letter from the capital saying they wanted to learn from him about how to treat commoners, and he happily agreed to meet them, even though his wife was worried. Later, women started disappearing in Stradius territory, and the evil nobles sent a guy pretending to be a policeman to spread fake rumors, saying Olivera was responsible and sold commoners as slaves. The rumor spread like wildfire. After 2 months in the capital, Olivera decided it was time to head home. Harold decided they needed to finish their plan before Olivera got back. That day, the fake policeman called some commoners to help him catch the kidnapper. They staged a fake kidnapping scene and put Olivera's family crest on the wagon carrying the kidnapped women. That night, the news spread that the victims were found in Olivera's wagon. The commoners, totally clueless about the staged act, got outraged and decided to take matters into their own hands. They marched to Stradius Ducal Palace and set it on fire, with Arya, Olivera's wife, still inside, killing her. Olivera comes home to find his wife dead and his house on fire. He asks the mob, and they tell him everything. Olivera denies the accusations, and points out to them that the military police would never ask civilians to help them make an arrest, and he would never carry kidnapped people in a wagon with his name on it. Just then, the mob realized their mistake and tried to apologize, but it was too late. Olivera realizes that Harold and the nobleman planned this all along. The commoners begged him for forgiveness, but Olivera had already lost control and started the demonization process. He angrily creates a huge explosion and obliterates the town, leaving nothing behind. Right there, Olivera swears to destroy the Empire, nobles, and all commoners for what they did. Back to the present, they leave the throne room after hearing Strom's story. Zest and a young guy named Lawrence discuss Strom's story. Lawrence tells him that what Strom did to the Empire was totally understandable. Zest tells him they need to find a new goal for Strom, and he tells Lawrence to go undercover with the demons who left and get them to attack the kingdom of Swede, a small kingdom close to Earlshide's borders. He says if a small group of demons shows up in Swede, Shin Wolford, the hero, will definitely appear. They figure if Shin shows up, then Strom might have a new objective. So, Lawrence promises to draw Shin out. And now, back Back in Earlshide, it's the day of Prince August's investiture as the crown prince. He walks out in his royal attire, looking absolutely magnificent, and everyone is just staring in awe. August kneels before his father, Dizzyum, the king, as Dizzyum reads the oath. Suddenly, a messenger barges in with news that demons have attacked the nearby kingdom of Swede, sending a wave of fear through the crowd that they might be attacked next. But August tells them they have nothing to fear because they have a group of fighters who have been trained as demon hunters. He calls Shin forward and assures everyone that together with Shin, they'll go to Swede and defeat the demons. August finishes his speech, pulls off his cape to reveal his combat uniform, and the others do the same, looking super gallant. August tells Shin to say something to the people and put on a good show to put their minds at ease. He also tells Shin to come up with a name for the group. Shin gives his speech but pauses in the middle because he just can't seem to think of a name. He continues his speech, telling the crowd not to worry, and gallantly tells them that the ultimate magicians would destroy the demonoids. The people of Earlshide go absolutely wild with cheers. Lin is the only one in the group who actually likes the new name. For the grand finale, Shin enchants their gear with floating magic, and the group rises into the air as the crowd erupts with a loud cheer. The team flies off into the air on Shin's orders. At the Kingdom of Swede, things are getting wild. The soldiers get this signal that demonoids are attacking, and seriously, they're scrambling like crazy to get ready. Hundreds of these demonoids are just charging straight for the city walls. They're trying to bash the walls down, but the Swede magicians are totally on it, throwing up a magic barrier. Big shout out to Shin's enchanted gear for making that happen. The soldiers send word to Earlshide for backup, but everyone's freaking out because it's gonna take days just to get the message there. Meanwhile, Shin and the squad are flying to Swede, totally chatting about the name Shin picked for them, the ultimate magicians. Catchy, right? As they hit the border, Shin's already got the battle plan mapped out, dishing out instructions. Olivia tells Mark she's got his back and totally warns him not to do anything stupid, which makes Alice and Maria feel super left out. Then Thor and Julius chime in, all like, yeah, we're engaged too. Maria is just fuming, haha. Back in Swede, it's total chaos. The demonoids are just wrecking everything. They've actually busted through the walls. You've got these two big demonoids about to finish off a woman and her kid when bam, Shin shows up, totally decking one of them. The other one tries to challenge Shin, but he just blasts him down instantly. Shin and Thor tell the woman they're reinforcements from Earlshide, and they escort her and her child to safety. August gets up and addresses the people of Swede, promising them that he and his team are gonna kick these demonoids out. He also gives a shout out to the demons, telling them to scram or face Shin's epic wrath and get taken out. The people of Swede are cheering like crazy after that speech. Shin tells Sicilian to stay and take care of the wounded, and she's like, be careful, as she rushes off. Lawrence is just lurking around, totally observing Shin, trying to figure out how powerful he really is. Alice and Lin are paired up, hunting for demons. They find one, and he just laughs, calling them little girls. Alice is about to totally lose it and attack, but Lin stops her. Lin tells her to chill out or she'll mess up, and Alice promises to keep her cool. She turns to go, but Lin's already taken out the demon. Just then, they hear a scream and rush to help a soldier. A demonoid is trying to blow up this soldier, but Lin and Alice throw up magic barriers and block the explosion. The demonoid calls them little girls again, which totally pisses Alice off, so she just incinerates him with a massive fireball. They pick up the soldier and try to get him to Sicilian for healing, but he thanks them and just bounces, probably super embarrassed. Alice and Lin are totally fired up now, back to hunting demons. The demonoids are still coming, taking out more soldiers. Thor and Julius are facing off against one of them, working together and seriously wounding him, slashing his thigh and neck. Thor asks the demonoid why the commoners from the Empire decided to become demons and kill people. The demon, totally enraged, tells him about the nobles starving them and taking everything, leaving them with nothing but hate. Julius finishes him off and vows to end all of them. Two demonoids are having a blast after killing a bunch of soldiers when Yuri pops up and freezes one with magic. The second demon tries to attack her, but Tony slashes him and kills him in one blow. At the aid station, two demonoids try to attack, but they run right into Mark and Olivia. One of the demons tries to attack Mark, but Olivia drops this massive rock on him, crushing him instantly. As the second demonoid charges for Olivia, Mark just incinerates him with fire. One of the demons actually gets back up, but Olivia and Mark blast him with magic. Inside the aid station, Sicilian is still doing restoration magic on the injured and telling everyone else what to do. Shin is just taking on dozens of demonoids all by himself, practically daring them to fight him. But seriously, they're no match for Shin. He just takes them out easily in one blast. Lawrence is still lurking in the shadows, totally amazed, wondering where Shin even gets his powers. He remembers something Strom said about Shin and starts questioning if Shin even has any weaknesses. As August and Maria finish up their hunt, Fabro, the demonoid who led the attack, shows up. He threatens them, promising to take Prince August's head and make the ultimate magicians run. August asks if he's the leader of the demonoids, and Fabro says yes, so August promises him the same fate. Alice tries to sneak in an explosion attack on Fabro, but it doesn't even faze him. Alice and Fabro keep going back and forth and he's just mocking her. Fabro charges at her and hits her with everything he's got, but Alice doesn't even feel a thing, which totally confuses him. Alice agrees that her bones would be shattered if it weren't for her enchanted uniform. Suddenly, Fabro grabs her wrist and flips her into a wall, and it just collapses on her. August is totally shocked shock, screaming her name in fear, but Alice just rises from the rubble. Fabro is stunned, but then realizes her uniform is enhanced with magic. He notices her bruised cheek and decides he needs to hit a part of her body not covered by the uniform. Alice blasts Fabro with 2 huge explosions, but nothing happens to him. August notices Fabro has this magic gear powered by Shin's magic barrier. Fabro brags that he took it from a dead soldier and figured it might come in handy. Alice and August use all their strength to attack Fabro, but he activates the barrier. That doesn't stop them though, as they keep launching multiple attacks that break the barrier, leaving Fabro exposed. While Alice distracts Fabro, August attacks from behind and blows a hole right through his chest, killing him. August commends Maria for supporting him so well, and Maria happily says Shin and Merlin trained her well. As August picks up the remains of the magic gear, he feels bad for the commoners who turned demonoid, and says their lives would have been different if only they'd been born in Earlshide instead of the Empire. And the King of Swede is seen with Merlin and Granny Melida, sighing in relief as the fighting finally ends. Merlin and Granny Melida say there's no need for them to step in since the situation is totally handled. Lawrence is talking to himself, looking at all the damage the ultimate magicians caused, surprised that they're as powerful as Shin too. Outside the walls of Swede, Zest is worried that he might have underestimated Shin's power. He begs Miria to help Lawrence and the remaining demons retreat. As the soldiers are standing guard at the gate, a huge explosion rocks and destroys the gate as Miria just walks out of the burning explosion, totally enraged. More injured folks get rushed into the aid station, and Sicilian is just non-stop healing them. But man, it's totally draining her. She finally heals the last person and is about to take a breather when this woman comes flying in, practically begging Sicilian to save her husband. He's super messed up, coughing up a ton of blood. Sicilian rushes over, and the wife just keeps pleading with her as Sicilian starts busting out some serious healing magic on the guy. Meanwhile, Miria is still going wild with her attacks. Shin can feel it and is like, "Whoa, what kind of magic is that?" She tries to take out more soldiers, but Alice and Lin swoop in with a magic barrier to protect everyone and tell them to bail as soon as possible. Shin and Lin face off against Miria, but they quickly realize she's way out of their league. Alice thinks she's got Miria, but before Lin can even shout a warning, Miria attacks Alice from behind. Alice hits the ground, but thankfully her uniform blocks the blow. Lin and Alice just keep throwing attacks at Miria, when suddenly Miria grabs Alice and pins her arms behind her back, totally immobilizing her. Lawrence sees that Zest sent in backup, so he tells the remaining demonoids to retreat, but they're like, "Nah, we're not leaving." Then Shin starts raining down fire on them, sending them all running for their lives. As they leap over the walls to escape, Shin is like, "Nope, nobody's getting away," and keeps blasting blue flames at them, taking out a bunch right on top of the wall. Just then, a group of demonoids jumps over some soldiers on the wall, and Shin almost hits them, but he stops his magic just in time so he doesn't hurt the soldiers. Suddenly, there's a huge explosion somewhere else that totally grabs Shin's attention. Yuri and Tony see Miria's got Alice, so they charge in to help. Yuri hurls a fireball at Miria, but Miria just hurls Alice right into the path of the fireball. Alice throws up a barrier to protect herself, but she crashes right into Yuri, and they both hit the ground hard. Miria then takes out Tony with one hit, sending him smashing into a wall. Lin tries to attack Miria again, but gets totally squashed between 2 rocks and passes out, which just makes Alice furious. As Miria tries to finish off Tony, Alice throws up a barrier in front of him, leaving herself wide open. Miria takes the chance, impales Alice to a rock, and Alice passes out too. Miria goes to finish off Yuri, but a voice stops her. She turns around and sees Shin. Shin looks around and sees all his friends battered and beaten, and he gets seriously mad. Lin warns Shin that Miria is no joke, but he assures her he'll be fine. Shin tells Yuri to look after the others while he handles Miria. Then Shin and Miria's fight begins. Miria attacks Shin, but he puts up 2 barriers to protect himself, leaving Miria stunned. Shin almost slices her with his vibration sword, but just cuts her dress open. Miria realizes that if she hadn't been super fast, he would have cut her, and she knows Shin is a seriously tough opponent. August and the others show up to help Shin, and Miria sees this as her chance to bail. Shin realizes what she's doing and tells everyone to leave, but it's too late. Lawrence jumps in and sets sharp glass all around, trapping them in the middle. Miria quickly unleashes a barrage of explosion magic on them, but Shin jumps in and uses all his strength to create a massive barrier to protect his friends. When the explosion clears, Shin notices Miria and Lawrence have already booked it. Shin is relieved that his friends are all okay. They talk about Miria, and Shin says he's thankful Strom didn't show up, or things would have been totally out of control. He's also worried about Sicilian. August tells the team to keep an eye out for more demons. As the demons retreat, Miria tells Lawrence that Zest sent her to help them escape. Lawrence is super mad. They lost a bunch of demonoids and underestimated Shin and the ultimate magicians. Strom watches the demons retreat from a distance. It looks like he's got his purpose back with Shin's arrival. Shin and August head to the aid station to check on Sicilian. They run into Mark and Olivia, who tell them they protected the place from demon attacks earlier. August tells them to call the rest of the team so they can help with the healing too. Sicilian is still trying to heal the injured man from earlier. She uses all her magic, but nothing seems to work. In tears, Sicilian rips off her uniform, exposing her bare body. She tells the wife that her uniform has magic that can help her husband. Before she can pull it off completely, Shin appears behind her and quickly puts the clothes back on her. She tells tells Shin, crying, that she's tried everything but can't save the man. Shin tells her that the magic in the uniform can't heal that kind of injury. Sicilian feels totally defeated, but Shin promises her that he will heal the man. Shin starts performing healing magic and heals him in no time. August is absolutely stunned, watching on, realizing he might never be able to compare to Shin's magic. Sicilian feeling bummed, thanks Shin, but he tells her that her magic kept the man alive long enough for him to arrive. He says her magic healed a ton of people that day and tells her to look up. Sicilian raises her head to see a bunch of people she healed earlier. They all start thanking her, calling her a saint. This made Sicilian super happy. Later on, August and King Swede talk about the demonoid attack, and August tells the king about Strom. Even though he can't figure out why Strom attacked Swede, he tells the king that Shin beat Strom once before, so he must see Shin as a threat, and he suspects something else might be coming. King Swede says that means they need to be more vigilant. August then suggests an alliance between Earlsheed and Swede to fight off demons, and the king says they'll think about it. August tells the king that he'll be holding a summit soon to discuss their alliance. The team discusses the recent events, as Shin and August agree to protect the world together. August asks the others to join them, and they all agree. The team uses gate magic to return to Earlsheed. They're greeted by military soldiers as soon as they arrive. News of their arrival spreads like wildfire, and all of Earlsheed celebrates their victory. Ellie and May rush in and hug August, welcoming him back. Diziem, Merlin, and Granny Melida also come to welcome them. Merlin and Granny Melida commend them for their bravery. Ellie keeps hugging August tight, squishing May between her, large bosom. May grumbles as Alice and Lynn chat about Ellie's large bosom. August tells his father he has something to report, and they head to the throne room. He tells Diziem about the alliance and his plans to work with other nations. Diziem trusts August to represent him in the negotiations with other nations. Shin also asks his grandparents for permission, and they let him travel with August. Ellie and May demand to join them, but August totally refuses. Shin tells him it's okay for them to come. The ultimate magicians tell August they will protect Ellie and May, so he has no choice but to agree. Later that night, in the Empire throne room, Strom lays into Zest, Miria, and Lawrence for making fools of themselves going after Shin after he warned them. Zest apologizes, but Strom actually praises them, saying it was fun to watch, even though they should have tried harder to win. Zest is happy that his plan to use Shin as a trap to draw Strom out worked perfectly. Strom asks Miria about their other plans, and Miria tells him she's still working on it. The next morning, Diziem sends August and the ultimate magicians off on their journey. Shin activates their floating magic, and they all fly off. August carries Ellie in his arms, and as they fly off, Ellie tells him he looks happier since he met Shin. They keep chatting as they fly away.